Woke Bioware devs may have just committed a massive crime. Today's video comes from Vara Dark. Her channel will be linked in the description. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
As soon as mainstream media's reviews went up for Dragon Age the Veilguard, we knew it was going to be a nightmare for BioWare because almost all of them highlighted the diversity and inclusivity and how that was the focus instead of it being a genuinely amazing Dragon Age experience. But now everyone is starting to question the journos' reviews, how they're using the same pictures, they're using the same wording, and they're also highlighting the same exact talking points, which means they're either written by AI or they all are going off of a script. Now, I do not trust the mainstream media and I do not trust critics. When I want to form an opinion on a game, I don't go by what they say. I play it myself. I give it a chance myself because I think it's only fair if I'm talking about a product on this channel that I experience it myself, because a lot of the times the critics and users do not align, and I do not think that is going to happen here because while there are a lot of reviewers who are giving it hundreds, there are some other content creators like YouTubers, for example, saying it's only mid, it's only okay, it's not what they expected and it's a disappointment. But we now are kind of piecing together a lot of articles, seeing the way that the media is wording their reviews, and it's very freaking suspicious. Now, a big reason why so many people do not trust journalists is because a lot of the times they're paid off, or at least they seem to be paid off, right? They have these perfect opinions as if they're afraid to speak negatively about a product because they do not want to lose access to upcoming games. They don't want to lose access to review codes. And with Dragon Age the Veilguard, most of them are saying that this is amazing because of its diversity and its inclusivity, and they're not really aligning with what gamers seem to think of the preview material that we've seen. Now, maybe when this releases in a few days, all of our opinions will change. Maybe this will truly be a 10 out of 10 game, but when I see critics giving it 100s, but then all of their articles are parroting the same talking points, it just doesn't look good in my opinion. And I do definitely think that BioWare probably gave them a script to go off of, and most of them are too afraid to, speak their own genuine opinions, or maybe this is really how they feel, because we know that the people that work at the Kotakus, the gamers, the Polygons, they are all activists who care more about diversity and representation versus genuinely good storytelling.
Now, just to make things very, very clear, because I want you to understand the situation that we are in. Right now, it does appear that BioWare may have committed conspiracy. It is actually a very serious crime to create fake reviews for products and to pay companies to make fake reviews for products. What are the implications of doing this? Well, actually, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, what are the penalties for doing this? Well, review manipulation and fake reviews. Review manipulation involves activities like paying for positive reviews, suppressing negative reviews, or creating fake reviews to mislead consumers. These practices are illegal and can lead to significant penalties. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has rules against such deceptive practices and can impose fines on violators. Keep in mind that they actually gave a review code to a person that claimed that they were non-binary, and the person then did a full review on the game, said that it was woke trash, and BioWare had their account on Twitter suspended on grounds of DCMA violations. So they used the Digital Millennium Act to have their entire account suspended on Twitter by claiming that they had committed some type of copyright trademark infringement. Their account is already back up, but this is how they are weaponizing things. They literally had someone's account taken down wrongfully using the system that is intended to prevent people from stealing someone's copyrighted work, instead weaponizing it to have a review taken offline where a person honestly discusses how the game actually performs, how it looks, and their real thoughts about it. So this is actually suppression of information, and as you can see, suppressing negative reviews. So classification as conspiracy. This is where it gets really serious. When multiple parties are involved in coordinating deceptive practices, so that's basically multiple outlets, okay, it can be considered a form of conspiracy. In legal terms, a conspiracy involves an agreement between two or more parties to commit an illegal act. If companies like Bioware collaborates with others to manipulate reviews, they could be seen as conspiring to deceive consumers, which is illegal under various consumer protection laws. So we are establishing right now that BioWare has likely committed very serious crimes and has committed the act of conspiracy. What are the penalties? So penalties and consequences. The FTC can impose significant penalties for deceptive practices. For instance, the FTC's new rule allows for fines up to $50,000 per fake review. If BioWare is found guilty of paying for fake reviews and manipulating reviews for the new game, Dragon Age Veilguard, they could face substantial fines and be required to cease these deceptive practices. FTC investigation and public reporting. The public can report deceptive practices to the FTC, which can then investigate the matter. If the FTC finds sufficient evidence of review manipulation, they can take enforcement actions, including imposing fines and requiring corrective measures. The civil penalties can be substantial, with fines potentially reaching millions of dollars depending on the extent and impact of the deceptive practices. Maximum possible fines and consequences. The maximum possible fines can vary, but under the new FTC rules, each instance of a fake review can result in a fine of up to $50,000 if BioWare's actions are widespread. The total fines could be significant. Additionally, the company could face reputational damage, loss of consumer trust, and potential legal actions from affected consumers and competitors. All right? Do you see how serious the situation is? So, based on the information that we have, it does appear that BioWare has absolutely committed multiple instances of conspiracy. And not just BioWare, but all of these gaming publications such as IGN and even the Game Awards manipulating information. These companies can get into significant amounts of trouble, but just from BioWare alone, they are conspiring. They've actually taken action to suppress information and negative reviews, to manipulate information, sending over points to these reviewers on what can be discussed. And if these reviewers if they are investigated, and I guarantee you they will try to conceal information from the government, it is a lie. It is a lie. It is a crime to lie to a federal agent. And I guarantee you that they will try to lie because these people are not smart. These people who work for Kotaku, these people who work for IGN, these people they're not intelligent people. They're literally like Kamala Harris. They break down under pressure and they start to spout nonsense. And I guarantee you they will 100% lie to federal officers. They will lie to federal agents. And when they do lie to federal agents, that's when they're going to find themselves in a true world of pain, because now they can face substantial amounts of time in prison.
But Nuri had posted, not that anybody is surprised that BioWare is paying journalists to try and save this dumpster fire, but they should have at least made an effort unto making it seem like they weren't copy-pasted titles, same pictures, and this is something that I had pointed out in one of my previous videos, is that they were all covering it in the same exact way. As you can see, Kotaku wrote an article saying in Dragon Age the Veilguard, this dialogue option lets you declare your character is trans. Gamers Live Plus, never heard of them by the way, in Dragon Age the Veilguard, this dialogue option lets you declare your character is trans. The Gamer, unlike many RPGs, Dragon Age the Veilguard lets you establish that your character is trans, and it even gives you unique dialogue. And I have to say this a lot, I am for as many options as possible for gamers, but they are clearly shoving identity politics into this title in order to pander to a very small minority of people. I mean, they really do not care about what the majority of gamers want, which is a genuinely amazing fantasy experience, because having a character who is, not exactly sure who they are or is questioning their identity isn't really that crazy. If you look at like characters who go on a hero's journey, right? They constantly question their actions, why they're doing what they're doing, what they care about, what they're trying to change.
Now, something I kind of want to talk about regarding what they're doing with these games, for example, where they can declare their sexuality, they can declare if they are GAY, if they are trans, if they are non-binary, and all of these things. Back in the 90s, we were not concerned with any of these things in the respect that we did not know, nor did we really care if Lara Croft was into chicks. In fact, there are some dudes who would probably be even really into that as well. We did not care about identity politics. We did not care about identification. It was simply just enjoying the game and the character. You had a character who was fit, feminine, attractive, and doing really, really cool stuff. And that's the only thing we really actually cared about. So these games have become extraordinarily perverse because as normal people, we do not go around and actively talk about what we are attracted to or how we identify or all of this other stuff. These are things that we just basically do not bring up. Instead, we focus on how the game plays. Do we enjoy the game? What are the various aspects of the game? This is insane. It's insane what's happening here because these are topics that are topics you typically would not speak to about with children, and even teenagers can struggle to digest a lot of these subjects. And yet, here we are putting gender politics and these types of things into games that are influencing the minds of young people and also damaging the minds of just a lot of people who just simply want to play games, creating confusion and frustration. So it's just very nasty what they're really doing here, because people just want to play games, but they want to tell us about their identification left and right. And you have games like Spider-Man where you cannot they don't have the American flag out there, but they have another kind of flag. And there was a mod that was put into the game that basically allowed you to remove certain flags and replace them with the American flag. And the modder who created the mod was banned, and the mod was taken down. And they classified it basically as HATE. You see, they are pushing an agenda. We just want to play games in peace. No, you have to basically have this stuff put right in front of you. In Final Fantasy 16, I did not know that there were characters in the game that are actually in a same sex relationship, and there is actually a kiss between these characters. When I look at the reviews on YouTube and other platforms, there are people who are shaming anyone who does not support it and saying that it's not a forced relationship, even though it is extraordinarily forced, as it is a central part of the game. And I just want to show, and even in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or the sequel to it, they also have characters specifically in the game that are also same sex. This is something that was not in the original game, and I want to point out that I understand these are remakes of the original, or it is a remake of the original, but it is clearly, again, gender politics. They are playing gender politics. They want to push this in front of you. They want to normalize this sort of thing so that you will basically think that it is normal, and you will change how you think. It's like you cannot have a moment of peace in this world anymore. They hate Black Myth Wukong because Black Myth Wukong does not even focus on relationships. There's no focusing on men and women dating or children or any type of thing. Like, it's just literally a monkey battling gods, to my understanding. Like, that's it. It's just a monk. It's basically a monkey god battling gods and defeating them. There's nothing else to it. All right. And this game has been bashed by IGN. You cannot spell IGN without ignorant. I'm going to tell you what I've actually done. Me personally, I have actually unsubscribed from IGN after the whole Vanguard, Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard thing, because their reviews can no longer be trusted. They keep on giving out crap reviews, and that means that you can't trust anything that they're saying. So, these are the same people that gave One Piece, the anime, a terrible review, gave it like a 6, but then said that Cowboy Bebop was lit. I believe like they gave it like a 7 or something. And, they've been giving terrible reviews out. So, you know what? I'm just unsubscribed from them. I'm not going to listen to their reviews anymore. And I hope more people unsubscribe from ignorant IGN. You cannot spell ignorant without IGN. They've been manipulating reviews as well. And they were found manipulating reviews. And like I showed you earlier in the video, it is illegal to do this. It is illegal to rig information. So if these companies, and trust me, someone will eventually possibly get to doing it, report them to the FTC. And the FTC will actually, and it's not just the FTC, but they are consumer protection groups. And it is shown that they have been practicing this. The companies that own IGN can be sued. The people involved in this can also be privately sued for this. What they are actually engaged in is conspiracy. Conspiracy is a very serious crime. So while the companies themselves that are doing this can end up facing serious civil penalties, up to $50,000 for every act of like every fake review that they publish or every act of information manipulation, the individuals that have actually done this and that have conspired to do this, they themselves presumably can face not just civil penalties, but criminal penalties and serve potential time in prison for this. Of course, the great thing about these people is they are not very smart. They are stupid people, and it is a crime to lie to a federal agent. I guarantee you, these people will lie to federal agents. They will lie to Congress. They will lie to federal agents. These are low individuals. They are low-class individuals. They are horrible people, nasty people, very, very evil and vindictive people, stupid people. And they will lie to law enforcement. They will lie to federal agents because they do not take accountability or responsibilities for anything. They will destroy information. That's what they do. And the thing is, the information is right there. And all you have to do is review the records. All you have to do is compare the notes and look at and just runs and look at the statistics and the facts of how things align. And you basically can see what they are doing. And if they are trying to cover it up, again, it will only make the matter worse for them. If it goes before a grand jury, I mean, good luck to these people. They belong in prison. This never, guys, even if they try to reverse course, never ever go back to IGN. Never go back to companies like Bioware. Let these companies die. Let them die. EA acquired Bioware, and you can see what EA has done to Bioware. EA as a crap company, it's been going downhill for many years, and people still keep on buying their garbage. Let these companies die off. Let indie developers put out banger after banger, and hopefully these indie developers will stop selling out their companies to people like to Sony, for example. Like, stop selling your companies to Sony, or if you do sell it to Sony, give them the IP. Form a new company and move on, okay? And take your talent with you. Oh, they want to buy out Horizon Zero Dawn for $50 million or $100 million. Let them have it. Go ahead, sell it to them. But don't stick around at the company because they're only going to push woke ideology. Take that money, form a new company, and start making other games at that company and use that money that you got from ignorant Sony, woke Sony, to create even better games and to establish yourself as an even greater entity for change and freedom. If you look at what GOG has done, GOG just published an ad that I think is absolutely insane. I'm going to show you the ad because I love what it does and what it establishes over platforms even like Steam, which are constantly praised. And let me tell you something, Steam absolutely does censor things on the platform. So GOG stands for Good Old Games. It's a platform like Steam that allows you to purchase your games digitally. The difference is that none of the games on GOG have DRM in them, digital rights management, meaning that you can download every single one of your games as an individual program. You have the installers. There are no license key requirements. You can install them, you can back them up, and your games can never be taken away from you. And that is the principles of GOG, something that they advertise, they make very clear. That is the foundation of it. And you can find so many amazing games on there. It's called Good Old Games. I often say Grand Old Games, but it's Good Old Games. But the truth is that it's not all old games. There are more and more new games coming to it, and you know, we constantly buy games from Steam that has been out for like 10 years or 15 years, and we wait for them to go on sale, and these games are like selling for $60 a pop. We usually, very often, whenever there's a sale on GOG and a sale on Steam, if a game is on sale on Steam, it's typically on sale on GOG as well. Well, if you look over here at the screen, you can see this is one of GOG's latest ads. I actually posted this to my YouTube channel, and I want you guys to see this. So it's for GOG. This is an ad that I saw, and notice what they say: a store that respects you. And I think that is such an important point to make. A store that respects you. Okay? These other platforms do not respect us. We will not. It's basically, you will own nothing and be happy, right? I don't think so. The reason why we fight, the reason why we struggle is so that we can have ownership of things. We want to own our own homes, own our own vehicles, have our own families. We want to possess things, okay? We work for things so that we can own things, so that we can have something that belongs to us. This very notion that you will own nothing and be happy means that you will own absolutely nothing. You will not own movies. Everything will be on a subscription plan, which is what has mostly happened, where no one actually owns their movies anymore. When you go and you purchase an item from Amazon, and they say that, oh, you've purchased this movie, you did not purchase the movie. They're like, you can purchase it or you can rent it. What they're actually doing is they're telling you that you can purchase it, you can rent it for a short period of time, or you can rent it for an indefinite period of time, but you do not own the rental. When you purchase it, when you're buying it, they say buy now, buy the digital version. No, because they can remove it and they can take it away from you at any time. You're only purchasing access to a license that can be revoked at any given time, and you will not be given a refund. That is the exact same thing that happens on Steam. You do not own anything on Steam. You can be locked out of your Steam account. When you are locked out of your Steam account, let's say you've spent $3,000 on your Steam account. Guys, I spent over $3,000 on my Steam account in just this year. Over 3K on my Steam account this year. And guess what? There are people who spent way more than me. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on an account where you own nothing, and they can lock you out of that account, and that's it. And of course, you know, you can work with their customer service to regain access to the account, but they can also ban you from the platform for things like cheating. So let's say you cheated in a game, right? Oh, you cheat. Guys, how stupid is this? Where, okay, you cheated in a game, and let's say you legitimately did cheat in a game, and you have a history of cheating. Well, now you're going to be banned from the Steam platform. Okay, fine, so I'm banned. So, you know, I'll take my games and go. Oh, no. You've been banned from Steam, meaning you no longer have access to your games, because Steam is a service. Even though you do not pay for the service, it is a service, okay? It's a service that is masked as just being a digital store where you can purchase your items. It is a service that you are using to access digital products that you do not actually own, that can be revoked from you at any given time. You can be denied access to them. You can be taken away from your library. And You can be blocked from accessing the service, hence from accessing all the games that you paid for but you have no ownership of. So when you spend $70 for a brand new AAA title on Steam, you don't own the game. You have zero ownership of it. I have greatly reduced since I came across GOG. I have greatly reduced my spending on Steam. If it's not for like $5, I'm not buying it. If it's not if it's not dirt cheap, even Steam even tells you now that when you purchase a game on Steam, you are not buying the game, you are just buying a digital license. A digital license that can be revoked at any time. So I've greatly reduced my spending. I may buy something if it's dirt cheap on Steam that's not available somewhere else, and I'll pick it up later on if and when it's available on GOG. But I treat everything on Steam now as a rental. It is 100% a rental. I want Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, but I don't really have a lot of time right now. And for me, it's a hard one because that's a game I would like to own. So if and when it goes on sale, I may acquire it that way, but since that's a game I would like to own, then I will likely pick up the physical version eventually. For me, though, I don't want to purchase games from Sony anymore. I feel like I'm not happy with Nintendo the way they're going after people over emulation, but still, compared to the other companies like Sony, I still prefer to purchase my games. If I have to purchase games from a company, I would prefer to purchase them from Nintendo because with Nintendo, I feel like your cartridges, it's much better. It's much better storing cartridges that they're much easier to store than CDs or compact disc that you're getting from Sony or Blu-rays. And also, I feel like there's the portability access. I think that's just a better value. And Nintendo, ironically, despite being a kids company that was very centered once around restricting the kinds of games that were on their platform, they basically learned their lesson somewhere along the way after their major flop of the Wii U. It scared them so much that they learned their lesson and they basically started saying pretty much anything is allowed on the Switch. So not everything and anything, but you have like even hentai based games on the Switch store right now. And while I don't think they show the full Monty, they're still, that just kind of shows you where you can find this type of game on the Switch and no one cares, but you probably would not find these same games on the PlayStation because it goes against their policies of gender identity. So I prefer to get my games from the Switch, for now. And like I said, the way things are changing rapidly, however, and with, I truly believe that major competition will be coming from other companies like Asus, like Samsung, like Lenovo. They will begin creating, because they're already dropping, handheld gaming PCs, but with the new Snapdragon processors and possibly even new Intel-based processors, you're going to have gaming PCs that are much smaller, much more accessible gaming handhelds, and even consoles, basically new Steam machines, but not even just straight Steam machines, but, consoles that allow you to play GOG and access various different game stores, and that's going to be a game changer. Because of the actions of console manufacturers, I think that we are increasingly approaching the end of the console generation or the modern day console era. Because people are increasingly becoming very negative towards how consoles operate. There are people who talk about micro stutters when it comes to gaming on a PC or gaming laptop, and it's something they can't get rid of. But that's not true, evidently. There are many games that do run without micro stutters, although sometimes you do have to do some things to fix these things, but it's a complete joke to say that you don't experience any issues whatsoever on games that exist on consoles. Very often you'll have these games on consoles and there's a bunch of problems with these games. They're basically unplayable, and while you're waiting months, sometimes years for a fix that never ends up coming, you have an entire community in the PC sphere that are releasing mods and updates that basically fix the issues in these games that developers themselves don't fix. So it's really, really incredible what you have on PC. And if you're like talented enough, if you're really dedicated, you can then also learn how to create mods and do edits and actually go in and fix these games yourself. That's the difference with PC, but it does require not being an idiot. It does require taking time to learn. And of course, it's becoming much more accessible to everyone with things like the Steam Deck. But like I said, we're heading towards the point where you're going to have these consoles where they're, that basically that's what they are, that are going to allow you to play games from just about every, like all these different stores. So you'll be able to play your games from Steam. You'll be able to play your games from the Epic Game Store. You'll be able to play your games from GOG. Like I said, I'm not buying, if it's not on GOG, I'm not buying it. I wish there were more stores like GOG. I hope more stores like GOG come along, because that's what we need. But thank God that we have GOG and the philosophy that it's built upon. And if more people say that we want to own our games, then that's what's going to happen. I feel like most people do not know about GOG right now. And if they knew that GOG actually existed and how many games are on GOG, they would basically be purchasing all their games on GOG. Because GOG has a launcher just like Steam, and it allows, using the launcher, you basically gain access to multiplayer and in a community of other people that are playing these games. And I'm not sure, but I think there may be some cross-play between people who are on Steam as well. Don't quote me on this. So you do have people. I mean, that does exist. One of the things that I also like regarding GOG is the fact that with the offline installers, most of the offline installers do not include multiplayer, in the sense that if you download the games like offline, you download the actual installer, and it's not through the GOG app, the GOG launcher, then you do not get those multiplayer features. But the benefit, although that's not to say always, because some of them do have separate multiplayer features that are provided by the maker of the game. They have their own servers, but most of them don't. The benefit of this, though, is that, unless you're specifically looking for a game that has multiplayer, it becomes much more difficult for you to be tracked. So these law enforcement agencies, these social media, these tech companies that want to track how often you're playing your games, when you're playing your games, that want to entrap you, they're basically screwed, because it makes it much more difficult to track you when you're playing your games, when you're interacting with your games. There are some games, like for example, there was something done in No Man's Sky that required you to sign into their launcher and sign into their platform to access certain features, but it's very limited, and you basically will know which games are doing that. And there are typically ways to disable that stuff as well, most of the time, to my understanding. Yeah, there's always an offline. There's always the majority is always offline, and sometimes there's these optional things that may require access to, signing into into an account, like let's say like Hello Games account, to access a specific aspect of the game. And again, I think that would even fall into like multiplayer. So again, for a lot of men who just want to play their games and don't want to interact with anyone, you purchase your game, you download it offline, and it's a complete offline experience. There's no and you can still install DLC, and that's it. But there's no one coming for you. There's no one monitoring you. You can download your games. You can upload them to the cloud, upload them to your G Drive, to your Google Drive or Dropbox, or you can set up a home server, put them on an external hard drive, whatever, and you can keep your games that way. Well, you can pass your games on. You can pass your games on to your children, to your family, to your friends, whomever. You're not supposed to technically give your stuff, like you're not supposed to, like, just like if I purchase this game, technically I'm not supposed to send it over to my friend, but I can, really, and no one can really do anything about it because I own the damn game. But one of the things about GOG, to my understanding, is with Steam, you legally cannot transfer the ownership of your account to someone else. While with GOG, I believe they've actually said that they will respect your wishes as best as they can in terms of, transferring ownership of your account to someone else. We can actually break down a little bit what it means to transfer your account on GOG. So transferring ownership of a GOG account directly to someone else is generally not allowed. GOG accounts and their content are subject to limited personal and non-transferable licenses. However, there is a way to pass on your GOG account after your passing. If you want to leave your GOG account to someone in your will, the recipient will need to obtain a court order that specifically entitles them to your GOG account and its content. This court order must reference your GOG username or email address used to create the account. Once the legal documentation is provided, GOG will assist in transferring the account. It is a complex process, but it is possible with the right legal steps. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to ask. So, yeah, I mean, it is completely possible to actually do it on GOG, and they will help you to do so. I think for a lot of people, I think it is a legal process, but it is understandable how it would be done. And I mean, it probably would cost a little bit of money to go to the court and have this done and file the paperwork. But, considering that some of these accounts will end up being worth thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, it does make a lot of sense to be able to transfer this account or the contents of the account to someone else. So, for example, if I have all of these games in my account, then the account or the contents of the account can then be transferred to my son or a friend or whatever, so that everything that I worked for and everything that I left behind, at least it continues on, because that's the whole idea behind ownership. We want to, at least that's how it used to work, leave something back for the previous generation. Except for the baby boomers. The baby boomers are the first generation in modern history that will live longer lives than their children, and their children will live shorter lives than them. Something actually happened very interesting. I asked Google a question specifically, which generation owns the most of BlackRock investment. This is the company that owns the world around us. They have over $2 trillion in assets, and they're the ones that are pushing the woke agenda. They're the ones that are paying these companies, or more so, giving these companies, gaming companies, cash incentives to push woke and woke culture in games. But something very interesting happened when I asked Google about this. So I'll actually show it to you. I asked Google, do baby boomers own the majority of shares of BlackRock compared to other generations? And the response was actually quite surprising and extremely telling. So you can see the response that I actually got in regards to the question. It says, yes, baby boomers own a large portion of the stock market, including corporate equity and mutual funds. Corporate equity and mutual funds. So baby boomers own 50% of all corporate equity and mutual fund ownership. Real estate, baby boomers own 42% of all real estate. Baby boomers own 42% all real estate ownership. Net worth, baby boomers have the largest net worth in the United States, owning 52.8% of all wealth. Baby boomers are the wealthiest generation in the US with a total net worth of $78.55 trillion, guys. This is madness. Trillions. They are also the longest living generation in history, and they will live longer lives than their children, which is the first in modern history. The boomers have basically turned us all into indentured servants that will serve them as they live off us. They basically stole our futures while we were in diapers, convinced us to get expensive college degrees so we would be trapped in lifetimes of indentured servitude, and then mock us when we struggle to survive. These are people who absolutely HATE us. These are bad apples, just like Gen Zers are bad muffins. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Within the world, and then of course they have to look internally, and they're looking at how they themselves as human beings are changing. But in this case, my big issue is the modern language, the current day language. Oh, we have top surgery scars. We, of course, have characters establishing that they are trans. We have terms like non-binary being put into this game. There are ways to put your opinions and your viewpoints and also content that you would like into a game where a character might be questioning who they are without using modern day terms. And that is what makes this game woke. That is the issue that gamers have these days, but that is what these activists do not understand. Oh, whoopee-doo, you want to sit here and say your character's trans to yourself, okay, whatever, but having it as options, using terms like non-binary and transgender and having top surgery scars in a fantasy dragon game is really fucking weird, and I think the majority of people would agree with that. We also can see if you head on over to, Google and Bing and you're searching up Dragon Age the Veilguard, they all are, yes, using the same terminology. Rolling Stones, Dragon Age the Veilguard is a return to form for a beloved RPG franchise. GameSpot, it feels like a return to form for Bioware. Digital Trends, the Veilguard is a return to form for this once lauded RPG studio. Games Radar, it feels like a true return to RPG form. PSU, without a doubt, a return to form for Bioware. So you can see clear as day that they were all given a script and they are afraid to go off of that script.
So these large companies are openly conspiring with game companies, the gaming media conspiring with these game companies to fix reviews and force consumers, mislead consumers into buying this specific product. And I told you these people are not very bright. They are leftists. They believe that they are above the law. They will lie to law enforcement. They will lie to Congress, even with the evidence right in front of them. You can basically play it back to these people, and it's the same type of narcissism that you see with the baby boomers. They will lie to you in the face of truth. You can show them and review their words and the things that they said, and they will scream and holler, break down into tears, and throw a fit and go absolutely insane because they are telling you that you basically have to believe their lie, and their lie is the reality, even though it clearly is not. And even when you arrest them and throw them in prison, they will continue to perpetuate the same exact lie because they do not operate on facts. They operate on feelings and whatever delusion they choose to live in. They are criminals. They know exactly what they are doing. Okay? This is conspiracy. They are all conspiring to deceive the consumer. Okay, and they are receiving kickbacks. Even if they are not receiving cash, they are receiving things like codes, they're receiving products like digital products, and all of these things cost money and add up. How much do you think it would cost for IGN to actually have to pay for all of the stuff that they get for free? Plus, these companies advertise with them. So they survive off ad revenue, not off the consumer directly paying for their total BS subscription. I don't even know if it's still around to like IGN Plus. You can watch their videos on their site without ads. What really allows them to survive are the companies that advertise on IGN, that advertise with these gaming publications. Okay, that's what allows them to survive. So it's all fixed, and they've been engaging in this forever, and they violate these laws, and no one calls them out on it. So they feel empowered to do it. They have hundreds of millions of dollars to kick around, so they have lawyers that they can use to basically defend. But if you start taking them to court and proving what they are doing, these people, the companies, face massive civil penalties, and the individuals who are engaged in this conspiracy can face long jail terms, which is exactly where these bastards belong. They belong in prison. Do not forgive them. Even if they try to reverse course, never forget what they did. Let their companies die off. Let their publications die off. Let the game companies die off that did this. These are companies that absolutely eat us. They did not like us. They conspired to deceive us. They tried to shovel their garbage down our throats, their woke trash down our throats, while charging us large amounts of money, $100, $110 for the gold version, so that you can experience what the game should have been for the standard version, or if you want to play the game on the actual release date. So if you want to play the game, the day that when it should have actually came out, you can pay $110, or if you want to play on the day when it's coming out, 3 days later, then you'll pay $70. So if you want to play, it's crazy. All right, you basically have to pay for early access, and the difference now is just literally getting it on the day that it would have originally come out, or getting it 3 days or a week or two later. These people are evil, and then they keep very critical things out of the game, like extra missions and so forth, so you don't actually experience what the actual game is unless you pay for the gold version or the ultimate version. Things like additional costumes and cosmetics, now you have to pay large amounts of money if you want those additional things, aspects of the game that you usually would have unlocked as extras in the past as a normal part of the game. These people are sick, and what someone said is that all of these games are heading towards a subscription-based model. I made a poll where I basically asked, I said that, come PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox, games will cost $80. So, games from major publishers will cost $80, and a lot of people not only agreed, but they said not angry. They'll cost more like 90 or probably 100. Like a lot of people think they're gonna cost way more than way more than $80. It's gonna be at least $90 or $100 a game, and I agree with them. I think everyone's going to be shell shocked when GTA 6 comes out, and there's a very strong possibility that this game is actually going to cost more than $70. This game may actually cost anywhere from $80, $90, or even $100, as it establishes that, oh, well, this is a premium game, so, you're getting a premium experience, hence you have to pay for that premium experience. And they're saying that this game costs $2 billion to make. If it did or did not, I really don't know, but it would not surprise me if it did. And to my understanding, the story part of the game is actually going to be much shorter this time around compared to previous entries in the series, or at least compared to GTA 5. And then they're planning to release, different cities and so forth over time, kind of like No Man's Sky, but you cannot trust them, because knowing how they operate, they're not going to give it to you for free, more than likely, or maybe they'll give you the first one for free. They give you the first crack rock for free. So you're going to get a game that is in many ways very kind of like, it is not worth $100. It's not worth $60 or $70. It's a piece of woke garbage, and it's only a small fragment of what you were given in the past. And then you're gonna have to wait until they release bits and pieces of it for years to come, and then pay out of the butt. And then to top it off, all of these games, this is what people are saying, are going to transition to a subscription model. So come PlayStation 6, they don't want you actually buying your games. They want you subscribing to your games, just like how you would subscribe to a game. Just like how you would subscribe to a live service game, you will be subscribing to these games. And maybe they'll do something like, oh, it's $69, $70, and this will get you this amount of time. But realistically, what they want you is on a monthly fee, or on a service like Ubisoft Connect or Premium, where you'll basically be paying for access to Ubisoft games, like $12 a month, which they can increasingly raise upon you, kind of like how you pay for Netflix. You'll be paying for this. Don't worry, your saves will be there. We'll be waiting for you when you come back. We'll keep your saves indefinitely. It's just such a great service. So you don't have access to your save files. You don't own your saves anymore. And when you come back, you can access the games again indefinitely. So now all the old games that you enjoyed, you can pay for those games for ever, perpetuity, because you will never physically own them. You will own nothing and be happy. They can go to HELL. This is why I love GOG so much. This is why I am continually sing the praises of GOG, because you can actually own your damn games on GOG. You can log into GOG, you can purchase your games, and you can download the offline installers. And for me, it's superior, because you don't have to worry about it constantly connecting to the web or anything like that, because that's just not how they're designed. The offline games basically are just that, offline, and it's basically having your cake and eating it too. And like I said, I can share if I had kids, I can share these games with my kids. I can share them with my family. Realistically, you're not supposed to transfer access, but it's just like if you were sharing a copy of your game with someone else. So that's one of the great things to consider there. Another very important point to make is this: if you have a copy, so for example, if I purchase a DVD, legally I am allowed to make a copy of that DVD under US copyright law. And if I allow, for example, a family member or a friend to watch the copy that I made, as long as I am not selling it to them, in theory, it would not be a problem because I acquired that copy legally. So that is how it's supposed to work.
It's so insulting to the very people that they need to read their articles. If you want trust back with audiences, and you want people to have a little bit of faith in you, you would not just be copying the talking points this company was giving you. And this is why so many gamers go over to Metacritics, they see an 84, which yes is positive, and instantly question why these scores are high. We are questioning why Press Start Australia, Checkpoint Gaming, Eurogamer, Gaming Bible are all giving it hundreds, that it's the perfect game, that there's not a game that is more perfect than this. This is why people have an all-time low trust with gaming journos, because they seem to be paid off, or on the flip side, they have these vendettas against certain games and companies like Hogwarts Legacy, like Stellar Blade, because they either do not like creatives who are attached to it, or they feel that it is not inclusive enough, that it does not push a certain message enough, and then they go on a spree trying to get people to boycott those games. These people, these journo hacks, constantly say content creators like myself are awful people for trying to simply give you guys information on titles that, oh my god, they're fighting back against things like diversity that are good. And I do agree that things like diversity are good. I love when people feel that they can see themselves in a story, that they can relate to a character, but it's also extremely narcissistic to only care about the skin color of a character, or the hair color of a character, or the gender of a character, and that's what you can relate to. And then you have these journos who, yes, do praise DEI over amazing storytelling, who have that as the focus of their reviews. And you can see that right now, all of the mainstream is doing exactly that. They're using the same terminology like it's a return to form for Bioware. They're all talking about how you can make your character transgender and how you can choose your non-binary identity in this. And at the end of the day, we can see that it's just a press release disguised as a review, which is not going to sit well with people. I do not think that things are going to get any better for BioWare or for the Veilguard going forward. I do think that, yes, this will sell because it's got notoriety, right? People know the Dragon Age name. People know it's an established franchise like Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think that that will sell well because of brand recognition. But at the end of the day, with the years and years and hundreds of millions of dollars that have been poured into these titles, I don't think they're going to do quite as good as a lot of people probably expected, the higher ups at the company expected.
I think one of the most frightening things about these games, for example, she mentioned, like, in some of these games you can see top scars on some of the characters, and what top scars are they basically are scars after a person who was born female would have their the top removed. So basically those would be scars left after they had their tops removed. And it's just kind of crazy that they would put something like that in a game to show, what I consider to be what some might call mutilation. This is something that you should not be putting in a game. This is not something that you should be showing to children. This is not something that people would want to see. We're calling that we're celebrating this. This is absolutely horrific, absolutely terrible in my opinion. But guys, what do you think regarding all of this? Woke BioWare devs just committed a massive crime, and like I said, these companies should be left to die off and they should be prosecuted under the full extent of the law. Let me know what you think, if you think that Bioware may end up being prosecuted for fixing reviews, as well as the journalists that have been conspiring with them. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.